What's up, everybody? So I just posted a league earlier today. Just a voiceover of like a 5-color shadow zoo kind of league that I ran through off stream. Uh, just trying to make territorial Kavu work. Like I'm really looking for that secondary threat, something that can actually be like a beat stick. And so I wanted to try out Kavu again. We've tried it out like briefly, but I really don't think the card's like very effective if you're not running some number of triomes to be able to get it down is like a 5 or a 2 mana 5/5 without needing a third land drop, which is kind of where the big disparity is between your typical like Kavu and a 4-color shadow deck and Kavu and Zoo. Uh, Kind of collision comes into play. It's like Kavu and Zoo is almost always a 2 mana 5/5, even if you don't have your third land. Kavu and Shadow is like always a 2 mana 4/4 if you really try to enable it. And it's not going to be a 5/5 unless you go get something like a Godless Shrine is your third land, which basically does like nothing to enable the rest of your deck. Rec, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome, what is it today? Monday? Is it Monday? I think it's Monday. Appreciate you coming around and hanging out. Let's get back to the other view as well before I forget. Now we got a little background to our chat. Yeah, like 2 mana 4/4 is good, but it's not as good as it can be. So I really want to try to make it a 2 mana 5/5 as much as possible. But if we're bringing over like that zoo idea, a zoo threat, a little bit of a zoo mana base with our Savai Triumph, then we might as well go like a little bit heavier into the zoo theme, which is where we get cards like Teferi, Leyline Binding. Like if we're already getting all 5 of our colors available, why not get Leyline Binding? And cards like Neshoba Brawler to kind of take advantage of all these mana types. So we'll see how it plays out. The league I uploaded yesterday, I was running like a basic swamp, no other basics. Decided to swap the swamp for a forest and a plains. Help cast like Neshoba Brawler, Kavu, Leyline Binding, stuff like that through a Blood Moon. We've got 4 Windswept Heath to help fetch out the plains, plus 4 Catacombs, 4 Wooded Foothills to fetch the forest. Forest being like a little bit more valuable, I think, because it actually lets us get like our threats on board. You can use the forest with like Kavu to get Kavu down, help filter through our deck a little bit more, find the plains after that. But yeah, that league also had like Mishra's Bauble that was pretty underwhelming. Had Tarmogoyf as a 4 of, no Neshoba Brawler, so we're kind of swapping around the threat package a little bit, seeing what happens. We're just waiting on mana traders to get us our cards. And then we will be off to the races. So bear with us for just a moment. There we go. But ended up 4-1 in the league that I just uploaded. Lost to Murktide in like a game 3 Blood Moon, which, like I mentioned, I had basic swamp in that list. The swamp didn't do like anything to help me out, which is kind of why we're going with like the forest and the plains this time. See if they offer any bit of a different approach. The mana base is not tuned at all. I have zero idea how I'm supposed to build this mana base, so I'm just going trial and error. So if you come out and say like, oh, well, you've got 4 Windswept Heath and a Blood Crypt, that's stupid. You're an idiot. Why are you playing Magic? Good question. Don't have a good answer for you. But if you've got suggestions on improving the mana base, I'm more than happy to listen. But anyway, this is what we got for the league today. Keeping like our shadows and thought seizes, lightning bolt, ragavan, really just lightning bolt coming over from shadow. Um, rest of it's kind of like the zoo shell, the ragavan, Neshoba brawler, territorial kavu, Dramoka's command, leyline binding, a couple Teferis in here. These March of Otherworldly Lights. We had a couple flex spots at the end. Wanted to try something out. Sideboard is a whole mess of cards that I kind of just wanted to play, like Geist of St. Traft and Night of Autumn, Lavinia. Got an Alpine Moon in here, some hearses, wear and tears, fluster storms. So we're just gonna take this this cluster on the road and see what happens. Worst thing that happens is we get absolutely wrecked and we learn nothing. Best thing is we kind of get an idea for a direction to take the deck. So we'll see. Either way, we here. But like I said, I did upload a YouTube video kind of similar to this with Zoo Shadow, but running like Tarmogoyfs and Baubles and a Battle Rage in here and Unholy Heat, just to kind of see what would happen. I think we beat Yawgmoth, we beat Scam, beat Devoted Druid, like a green white Devoted Druid deck with Stone Forges and Luxior. Lost to Murktide, and then beat a 5-color Bring to Light Scape Shift. So worked out okay. All right, so let's line up our game log over here. Win a die roll, always great. Ooh. Shadow, double Teferi, pretty bad hand. We're getting Shadow online turn 3, but that's also when we want to play Teferi. So if we play Teferi on 3, we're not playing Shadow till 4. That's a bit awkward, so we're going to ship this back. And yeah, a hand with like Ragavan and Thoughtseize Goyf is way better. So I need the plains if I want to play Dramoka's command. But I need the Overgrown Tomb to play the Goyf. So I'm just going to throw back the plains. Maybe I want to throw back the Dramoka's command, since I'm not playing that on turn 2 anyway. I'll keep it. Ragavan hits. We don't need a white source. Kavu action. Okay. Ragavan connecting. All right. Misty Rainforest Brazen Barber. So it makes me think either Rhinos, maybe Living End. One of those two decks. I don't think it's going to be Murktide, because Murktide having a hand with like no 1-drop creature, no bolt, no unholy heat, like that's pretty unusual. Let's start off with Thoughtseize. Yeah, so Rhinos. I'm just taking Fury. Or I want to take this Shardless agent. All right, so worst case scenario would be I play out Kavu. They draw a red card for Fury. I have a 3/3 Kavu. They kill both of my guys. If I Thoughtseize the Shardless agent, then Tarmogoyf's at least going to be a 3/4, and if they fetch, it's a 4/5. Let's take the Shardless agent. Play out the Goyf, say go. Yeah, I mean, normally, like, Misty plus Brazen Borrower would be an indicator that it could very well be Murktide, but I just think the odds of Murktide keeping a hand with, like, nothing on turn 1 is really, really low. Like, just not having a removal spell, not having a creature to stand in front of Ragavan. They could still think we're some sort of Jund, you're right. They're going for the Brazen Borrower here. Petty theft action. I'm kind of surprised to see them petty theft the Ragavan there. Just like take the 4-ball off the Goyf. And this exiled what? Dead and gone. Sure. So no Wooded Foothills Forest Unknown. Maciel, what's up? You're having a awesome Monday so far. The Ragavan Syndrome, if it hits me twice, I lose. Go and scoop the match. They're over it. Well, 1-0. We'll take it. But I mean, I wasn't expecting them to scoop the match. Maybe the game because they were pretty far behind there. But yeah, it's kind of like the 3-mana Thief of Sanity in Standard. Like, oh, Thief of Sanity is this 3-mana 2/2 flyer with Infect 5 or Poison 5. Like if it hits you twice, you're just done. Especially if you're like mana screwed or something. They're just milling over all your lands. Okay, so we can have a turn 2 5/3 brawler into turn 4 or turn 3 brawler plus leyline binding. So I guess I keep this. Well, this is why we can't have nice things. We get a Mardu Triumph off this. 3 untap. We have Breeding Pool Brawler. Next turn, Brawler plus Leyline binding. I mean, it's like a turn 5 kill. I don't think we make it to turn 5, but you think the 2 Tarmos are worth it instead of 2 Tribal Flames TBR? That's what we're trying to find out. Like, I don't think Tribal Flames is a great card, but that's more just like personal preference than anything. Okay. Does this mean that I have to leyline binding the map? Probably supposed to, right? Like, I don't feel good about it, but really don't feel good about it. Tribal Flames is one of my favorite bad cards. Like, I mean, it is a staple in Zoo, but at the same time, like, how relevant is Zoo? Like, that's one of the arguments I feel like we come to a lot on stream is like, oh, this card is a staple in this archetype. Okay, that's great. What's that archetype doing? Because if they're just doing like the same thing over and over again and they're tier 3 because of it, then they probably shouldn't have staples. They should probably be like looking at other options. But I know we've had people in the chat that have done extraordinarily well with Zoo. So I know there are Zoo players like putting up results, but it's just kind of like, is that good enough? Like for one person? I don't know if they need that mana or not, but I win a lot of games because of Tribal Flames. Like, I'm sure a lot of Zoo players do, but one person winning a bunch of games with Tribal Flames isn't like carrying the archetype, right? But I mean, this is me coming from like Shadow, where I say, oh, don't get stuck on any card because nobody's putting up consistent good results with Shadow. So we shouldn't be like, oh my god, we have to do everything like this. Like, I will die on the hill that anybody, we'll say in the Shadow community, since that's the one I know the most, uh anybody in the Shadow community that says like this card selection is right, period, is wrong. Because they're not putting up results with that card selection. Nobody else is putting up results with that card selection. So sometimes Zoo decks burns more than burn decks. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of instances against like Tron. I'd want Tribal Flames instead of Tarmogoyf because if I could sit here and go like hit you once, Tribal Flames you, that'd be a pretty good way to win. The Worm Coil. Don't you Ugin me. Alright. Karn's fine. Get your Ulamog. I assume they exile Neshoba Brawler. Yep. Alright, so I can bolt the Karn, throw the Goyf to a 5/6. Where were you last turn? Needed you. Swinging for lethal if I had you. But like, point in case, if we had Tribal Flames in the deck, we would have an out right now with that. So, no denying that Tribal Flames can have an impact. That being said, if the Tarmogoyf was the Tribal Flames, we would need more damage. We'd still be 5 short. I guess we could draw to a second copy of Tribal Flames. And give some reach with no effort, considering we already want to have 5 colors. Harder to interact with creatures. Harder to interact with creatures, yes. Also less repetitive of a damage source than creatures. So there is like a little bit of pro con there. Berries, pretty whatever here. Bringing in stuff that clocks a little bit better. Night of Autumn on like turn 2 off of Ragavan to blow up a map would be really sweet. Otherwise, just like hit out and Snaring Bridge. Sure, in fact, I see why it's a card that not all people like. Like, for me, my big gripes against Tribal Flames are it's a 2-mana sorcery in a world where like everything is moving at instant speed. So that's like a bit of a knock, pretty big bit of a knock against it. Um, but it's not the end all be all. Do I have I think I have Steam Vents in here. Be positive I still do. Uh, yeah, so being sorcery speed is a big deal, at least to me. Um, the fact that it's a sorcery speed card that like doesn't really do a lot more than just like a normal bolt or unholy heat or something. It's not like jumping from 3 to 5 damage for 1 extra mana and losing the instant speed is some huge upgrade. Okay, so we got to think about what we're getting here. Like, I could get Overgrown Tomb. That gives me everything but white. Kavu's a 4/4, so that's probably the take. 4/4 Kavu gets Stubborn Denial online. Yeah, let's do that. a power plant off the top of their library. Awesome. Really hoping for Sylvan Scrying or what's it called? Ancient Stirrings here. Something I can Flusterstorm so I can save this Stubborn Denial for a Karn or Little Karn or something. Get out of here. Shoot. Don't want none. Alright. I can grow the Kavu to a 5/5. Then I wouldn't be able to loot. The 5/5 does not change the clock. I'd be hitting for 7 down to 11, 7 down to 4, 7 kill, where 666 kills as well. So let's just loot away this Windswept Heath. If it changed the clock, then I would I'd keep it. So let's go. Thought sees you. Got 100 billion ways to get Tron. So do we want to take Karn, take the payoff? I don't think I really care if he goes like map for Blast Zone. Or by taking one of the guaranteed Tron pieces just to try to stop that. I could take like Sylvan Scrying now. Plays map, passes. I attack, crack map. I could just like Alpine Moon for Alpine Moon, one of the Tron lands, then probably fine. Should have played their Chromatic Star. I kind of forgot about it while I was figuring out my discards. So now this is what you love to see. Your opponent just like immediately cracking the map. Because now I can blast or Alpine Moon naming a Tron land without having to worry about Blast Zone. So, Kraken. Yeah. Guard our planes. Four, five, six, so close. We'll name Urza's. Got Tower Mines. We'll name Power Plant. And say go. Got a power plant. Whoa. On to game 3. don't think I'm changing anything up. Not really anything in my board. Actually, doesn't Lavinia do something here? Yeah, Lavinia's good. Why am I not boarding that in? Y'all supposed to be looking out for me. Not saying I forgot this card had text, but got the presence of text on that card. Boarding out. Fairy. What do you think about abundant harvest in a list like this? Um, Abundant harvest. Um, so I like abundant harvest when you've got a list that like low land count, need to see the second land, third land, whatever, pretty consistently, which we've kind of got going on here. The other time I like abundant harvest is when your non-land plan is very redundant and you just want like either a deck full of creatures and you want to see more creatures, or a deck full of um like, I don't know, redundant effects. I'm not sure how redundant this deck really is once you get past like the lands, because you've got cards like Leyline Binding and March of Otherworldly Light and Stubborn Denial that are like answering non-creature stuff. And you got Lightning Bolts, and you've got a reasonable amount of threats. But I feel like if you went down on the uh down on like the non-creature variability and up on the threats, it probably gets better. But I have not played like enough of the deck to really have any definitive tell there. Do I want steam vents? Probably, because I want to be shocking, fetching and shocking kind of aggressively for this shadow. But I also haven't played enough with like Abundant Harvest in general to really have an idea of when I want the card. But if you've got opinions on Abundant Harvest, or like have played Abundant Harvest in Zoo or anything like that, then I'm all ears. And it's got Tron. Tron, 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 Tron. Got Neshoba Brawlers. So, best case scenario would be what? I guess if they have like, they have the third Tron land, we know about that. If they don't have a fourth land, period, then we could possibly beat the Tron land. But if they have like third Tron land Worm Coil, we're in a rough spot. Played in 5-color Shadowed list long time ago, but like you said, it was mostly creatures redundant. Yeah, like it's reasonable in a shadow list like that where most of your like non-land stuff that you're wanting to hit is redundant creatures. Like in most shadow lists, I just want a good creature pretty often, right? Like I want a shadow, a Tarmogoyf, whatever else I've got in my deck. I just want a creature because most of them kind of do the same thing. So if I can dig to those a little bit better, then it's reasonable. All right, so we get Overgrown Tomb to make sure we get 4 land types. So Neshoba Ball is a 4/3, so that we have a hard Stubborn Denial. We can always get a Sacred Foundry with Windswept Heath. So all we're hoping for is nothing too crazy right here. Got to stub the Karn, because if we don't stub the Karn, we can't use that blue to stub the Ensnaring Bridge that they get off the Karn. So could have played the land, but missed a point of damage there. Ooh. Ooh. Interesting. Um. Okay, so we're definitely playing that. Uh, there we go. I have any artifacts on my sideboard? Guess we can get an EE. That's something. Oh, their hand must have just been like terrible. Oh, we've got no business winning that. Yeah. First we steal your car and then we steal your girl. Just how we wrote it up. All right. Ugh. Bad hand, basic forest. Opponent reveals Kahira, so could be anything from like blue white control to Charbelcher to something stupid and crazy. Like blue white control to me. All right, let's think. If I want to play Ragavan out on turn 1, I've got to lead with Verdant Catacombs for Blood Crypt. I don't have a Stomping Ground, which means I cannot produce green or blue mana. So we're going to lead on Savai Triome. Hope there's no Chalice of the Void. Okay. Let's go Breeding Pool. Cast Ragavan. And we're going to hold up Stubborn Denial. Maybe we get to, like, stub a turn 3 to Fairy. That'd be pretty nice. Worth a try. Shova Brawler. Bucks note to Fairy. Ugh. Love when your opponent misses the land drop and you're like, all right, they missed it last turn. Let's try to make something happen here. Force the issue. Rip the land off the top. Stings. It stings. One more land. Come on. Ugh. Start with seeing if we can take out Teferi. I don't think we're going to be able to, but... Really needed that third land sometime. Third land would still be solid. Okay. I think I kind of want to... I don't think binding the Chalice does a ton here. Kingdom for land. Alright, so we go cast. Currently 2. Done. Do have a counter spell. Okay. And that's probably going to be game. Yeah, I think if they didn't hit that third land on turn 4 whenever, if we gotten that one turn off, I think we had a reasonable shot. But as soon as they hit that, it kind of went out the window. I probably want wear and tear, actually. Like, I normally wouldn't be thrilled about it against control, but with Leyline Binding, Chalice of the Void, I kind of feel like Night of Autumn isn't going to be enough. But I guess I have Leyline Binding of my own. I don't know. Maybe that's too much. It's a tricky one. Run without it. I'm back. Well, on and off. Play a little bit here and there. Nothing too crazy. So Dramoka's command can make him sack a Leyline Binding. Fairy can bounce one. March. Streamed like a few days over the last couple weeks. But it's still kind of that, like, not in love with modern. And if I'm not playing modern, like, I really don't love standard. I don't want to play some more historic, but all right. So let's get a theme vent. Just ignoring the tiny leaders meta. You're right. I'm a horrible human being. Actually, let's get Sacred Foundry. Because I can get Sacred Foundry into like Overgrown Tomb or Breeding Pool into the other and have all of my colors. Fair enough. Just concerned when you up and disappear. That's fair. I appreciate it. But no, like a few months ago, I was just like having an abysmal time with Modern. Just every time I played a match, it felt horrendous. Memory Deluge. And a Shova Brawler. Say go. What are you playing historic? Oh, Death Shadow. Of course. Best archetype. But historic feels a lot more balanced a lot of the times, and it's kind of fun. But I haven't played in the last few months, so it could be that Mono White Humans is just like run everything. Of course, what colors though? Grixis and Jund. I had a lot of success with Grixis the last time I was kind of climbing up the ladder, but Jund was really fun as well. Um, if anybody has not gotten to play with the card, oh, what's its name? Shadowheart. If I can find the historic one. This Shadowheart, the specialized one, is probably the most insane card I've played with in like a non-legacy vintage format. Thing is nuts. Yeah, the discard, dude. Discard and specialize. Okay. How aggressive are we being? Black off this. Can't imagine they have an overgrown tomb. Oh, they do have a Sultai Triumph. I was not ready for that. I was like, oh, there's no way they have an overgrown tomb in their deck to be able to take out um, something with Leyline Binding. Technically, I was correct. Love Explorer on Arena, just waiting for that Bring to Light. I mean, I have not touched Explorer because Historic got like all the cards I was interested in playing. All right, that has been Leyline Binding. I would like to Binding Your Binding. Maragavan. Say hiya. And I think we're just going to add Gigantha and pass. Opponent's got to deal with what we have on board. And if they've got like a Supreme Verdict here, I really want to be able to rebuild with like a couple dudes. Show me the verdict. Verdict. Find a Stubborn Denial. Be better. Bindings. Subtlety. Well, like Mama always said, don't look a gift subtlety in the mouth. Let's go ahead and throw down this here. Armagoyf. Say go. So now if they have a verdict, I can dash Ragavan after it. Yeah. On to game 3. This only applies to non-creature spells, right? Or it counts for Solitude, but I don't think Solitude, Evoke Solitude is enough of a reason to bring in Lavinia. I think I'm just going to run it back like it is. But yeah, Historic came out with like Shadow and Teamer Battle Rage and Shadow Heart and there's that other one in a black instant. It's like you draw 3 and all the stuff in your hand pings you when you cast it. A bunch of really cool cards like that. So really drew me in quickly. Am I keeping 4 lands triple ravioli? I hate this hand with a passion, but do I hate it enough to keep it? Like, Ragavan's excellent. So this is the Magic Online conundrum. If I'm in paper, I'm probably shipping this back like 99% of the time. But I am terrified with Magic Online that if I throw this back, I'm going to get just a completely unplayable, unkeepable 6. So now that I've set it to the universe, I'm going to throw this back and let's see if we get an unplayable, unkeepable 6. Oh no, we got functional 6. What the heck? All right, just talk a lot of trash to Moto. Get good hands. Okay. So this is probably going to need to get a breeding pool. So if that's the case, I want to lead Blood Crypt, Thoughtseize into breeding pool for Kavu. I don't have the white, but the important thing is getting blue and getting Kavu up to a 4/4. Okay. Let's take the fairy. They go. Not going to be able to play out Kavu on turn 2, but had worse dilemmas. Can play out that on 2, though, which I don't hate. See if they decide to pending this feline. Between the Brawler and the Kavu, I'd rather have the Kavu alive. There's the pending. Alright, so we know Plains, Island, Archmage's Charm. That gets our white. I don't have any way that I can get another blue source off of this. Would Ren be playable in the deck? Yeah, Ren would be fine. I think like 2 Ren where I've got 2 Teferi would be okay. Just kind of wanted to play Teferi. I think Teferi does more to like say no to opposing decks, where Ren is more like a kind of enable what you've got going on. All right, so if you don't know, Dress Down kills Kavu, so we're gonna stop that. Ooh. All right, so how important is the extra damage to me? If I get a white source, dash the Ragavan, I'm swinging for 7, putting them to 10. They fetch off Delta down to 9. So then attack again. They're in bolt range, but I boarded out all of my bolts. So I think I'm just throwing away this Windswept Teeth. Maybe I'm not. No, I'm gonna throw it away because I'd rather have like a another counter spell, or I don't think that 1 point of damage is worth enough. And I'll hold it till next turn because I can always fetch out like a Savai Triome next turn. Kind of have the same options. Island. Mocha's Command. What are my bad matchups? No idea. I haven't played the deck nearly enough to know what the good and bad matchups are yet. All right, so this time I am going to play it because I can hold up both of these. Exile something from a yard. Tarmogoyf grows, or Teferi grows Tarmogoyf. So does Dress Down. I've got Sorcery. I don't think they run Snapcaster, or they can't run Snapcaster with Kahira, but I do have the Solitude. So I respond to this with Dramoka's Command. To put a counter on the Ragavan. Have the Kavu fight the Solitude. Doesn't really matter what this is getting. All right. Solitude was a little rough there. Kavu's a reasonable pickup for us. Archmage's Charm unknown. Fine. Please don't have found a verdict. Okay. Exile something. Let's exile Solitude. Because I don't like seeing Solitude. I'm gonna let this go. Probably very wrong. I mean, they find verdict, they find verdict. But kind of hoping that they just have like removal spell plus counter spell. Not removal spell plus a bunch of counter spells. Like that. Oh, man. Okay. What are my bad matchups? Decks with a million counter spells and removal spells. Bruh. Bruh. That's even worse if I draw into like a Shoba Brawler or something. What's this like not registering treasure as making mana? It did that for the Karn as well against Tron. Like, oh no, you didn't make mana. What are you talking about? Okay, got a chance. Pass along the turn. Dang it. All right, Kavu off the top. Not the best one off the top against a whole bunch of solitudes. Have we been solituded 3 times this match? Doesn't really do a whole lot for me, does it? All right, we'll scoop this one up. Solituded 2 or 3 times, plus the dress down on the Kavu was rough. Had a few opportunities in there, but did not work out. All right, so turn 1, Sacred Foundry, Ragavan. Turn 2, Overgrown Tomb means we can Dramoka's Command or we can Leyline Binding. Bop. So are we expecting some Yiggity Yawgmoth? No way you block this. Alright, so let's go. Bolt the bird. Pass the turn. Not Yawgmoth. Maybe Yawgmoth. I'm not sure anymore. Yeah. Let's fight the bird. Elected company. Okay. Who's ready to spin the wheel? Oh, we got one. Is there any reason to just like get the shadow into the graveyard? I don't think so. But hey, we hit 50% more threats than I thought we were going to hit off of that. So we'll take it. Maelstrom pulse my Ragavan. What a time to be alive. Also, can we talk about Maelstrom Pulse in the collected company deck? It's not on my radar. Hope he's a madman indeed. Love it. Could have played like Knight of Autumn. Nope. We Maelstrom Pulsing. That collected company into it? Absolutely not. Bruh. Bruh. OP, I love you. I love you. I don't know you, but you're my hero. Sorry I have to do this, but that does it. Dang. I'm not exiling that Maelstrom Pulse. This hero of a human being has registered. Uh, that was something. Collected company, Maelstrom Pulse, kitchen thing. I mean, I don't think it's any sort of like what's it called, Viscera Seer combo deck. Could be, but collected company doesn't hit murderous red cap. Things I didn't think I would say in 2023. Hmm. So I would guess just some sort of like Abzan company. I guess it could be Melira. Maybe. I don't know if I'm like big into that guess, but I just want like, do I want unlicensed hearse in some number if they've got a bunch of mana dorks? So like, I see company in a green black base deck. Um I expect Grist. That's like my uncompromising opinion. They've got Grist somewhere in their deck. All right, no mana dork on one is big for us because now I can fetch out a Savai Triome and have turn two, uh, either like a 5/3 brawler, Leyline Binding, March. Abzan Kiki combo, and that'd be a bold one. Kiki Jiki in your Abzan deck. It is Melira. Figured it out. Played Grixis with Breach. Was it worth it? I think it was better than I thought it was gonna be. I wouldn't like go crazy and say, "Oh my god, it's fantastic! You have to play it. You can't play without the card." But it was solid. All right. I kind of want to just play Nashoba Brawler here. Like they can't combo me out on turn 3 with the Melira. I really just want to get like a threat down, something I can pressure. Unless there's some like new creature in the combo I don't know about. But usually it's like Melira, um, Kitchen Finks, and a sack outlet like Viserys here. Sacks infinitely to give you infinite life, or Murderous Redcap instead of Kitchen Finks, sacks infinitely to ping stuff for 2 over and over and over and over again. But in case you haven't seen the combo before. All right, so let's start with cracking in. But when I was playing Grixis with Breach, like I was trying to answer the question of whether or not I thought Breach was worth it. And the way I was kind of approaching that was trying to keep an eye on how many games Breach was just like a value card that netted a card or two, but I could have won the game anyway versus how many times Breach was like a win condition that I played it and I won on the spot through something. Like I could not have won if I didn't have Breach. And essentially, it's come out pretty close to 50-50. Like I've played a lot of breaches that just 2 mana for a breach, 1 mana to cast a shadow from the yard, and that was all I could do. And I've played some breaches where I breached and then played like 4 or 5 baubles plus like 2 1-drops, and that was fantastic. Like that clearly led to me winning the game. Um, Played instead of Spell Pierce, right? Like those. So I'm not. I'm playing Breach and Spell Pierce. Like I know Aspiring Spike was playing it and moved like 4 Spell Pierces to the sideboard with Invasive Surgery, but I want to keep the Spell Pierces, at least 2 of them in the main. Like I think that card's phenomenal. So I pretty much just cut like 2 Croxa for 2 Underworld Breach, and then 1 what did I cut? I think an Unholy Heat Or no, cut a Ledger Shredder and a Croxa for 2 Underworld Breach and an Unholy Heat for a Terminate. And went like that. But we had the discussion briefly earlier. If anybody in like the Shadow Discords or on YouTube or in some other streams chat tells you that a specific way of building Shadow is right, they're wrong. Like there's not any positive results outside of like some 5-0 leagues to say any variation of Shadow is like the de facto way to build the deck. So if you get into like it's built a certain way, a certain card is played, a certain card isn't played, nobody knows. They can take guesses, but unless somebody's out there winning like 80+% of their matches. All right, so I can get Blood Crypt to be able to Lightning Bolt. I would love to have like Steam Vents in this hand. I could get Sacred Foundry. That's probably the right call. Sacred Foundry to be able to Lightning Bolt or March or something into Overgrown Tomb, Kavu, and this can get Breeding Pool. Okay. Got the most important card that Zoo plays, Shark Typhoon. Well, you're right. I forgot that one. I was not paying nearly enough attention in deck building. I didn't even put my Elspeth Sons champions in here. Like, all right. Horizon Canopy Esper Sentinel. Horizon Canopy Esper Sentinel. So forgetful for days. So forgetful every day. Like, what am I even doing with my life? So I assume this is some sort of Hammer Time build. And usually a lead of Horizon Canopy would mean like no second land unless their second land is an Urza Saga. I think I'm going to go ahead and Lightning Bolt this Esper Sentinel. Try to shut down some of this mana. I see the red-black shadow list in the Discord with Breach. I don't believe I did. Let's check. Probably have the blacksmith skill. But let's see. Other shadow deck. There's the blacksmith skill. We could turn out of them. Hmm. Could be very dead. Very dead very quickly. So I see a Jund list with like Kiln Fiends and stuff, but no Breach. This looks like a Rakdos list, but no Breach. Okay, I see it. Make sure this is the one you're talking about it. Talking about. Underworld Breach, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Scourge, Battle Rage. This is like the epitome of value breach deck. I'm gonna Underworld Breach back my Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Which I have a really tough time getting behind Fable. Like, that card to me looks like there's no way it can possibly be worthwhile. Alright, so they got a million hammers, right? Stoneforge got Cauldra. Which I can Thought Seize away. I can get Breeding Pool here. Ooh. I think I'm gonna have to Thought Seize the Cauldra. March the Urza Saga. Does that mean I just need to play the Shadow, like Blood Crypt Shadow? Then do I want to get rid of the Shoba Brawler? Fable's good. Try telling Respect the Cat it's bad. Oh. Haven't gotten to talk to Respect the Cat in a few months. Are they on it? Alright. Cauldron in hand. What's it called in hand? I think I'm ditching the Neshoba Brawler here. Land is okay. Pretty sure I want to be able to Thoughtseize the Cauldra. Oh. And they found the aid. Ugh. So now do I have to march? I can't march the Germ token because of Giver of Runes. Rough series of draws. I was really hoping to be able to get rid of that Urza Saga with March. Now I have to deal with a Cauldra. Let's see. Top 8 of the cash tourney last weekend with Corey B's list. Fable obviously Fable was way better than I thought it was going to be. Lamar RCQ Saturday with Red, Black, and Pioneer to queue for the Texas RC. Fable obviously much better in that format. Yeah, Fable's fantastic in Pioneer. No argument there at all. But Starburst, like, what made Fable good? Because to me, Fable really epitomizes this idea of like going as hard on mid range as you possibly can. And I feel like we're just throwing away a lot of percentage points against the rest of the field to try to like build up to one or two matchups that aren't that popular. So, whatever. Do this. They can still put in Cauldra as well. We'll go March the Germ. Pay the one for Sentinel. Go to blocks. Last card in hand's a hammer. Right, getting the damage in here. I can fetch down to 9. Shock to 7. Shadow deals 6, puts them to 6. I'm at 7. Construct's a 4/4. They make a construct. It goes up to a 5/5. They get an artifact. It's a 6/6. Activate Ink Moth. It's a 7/7. So I'm just dead to the construct. Even if I bolt this, they've got 1, 2, 3. Make a construct. Construct here. They find a land, they can make another construct. They've got hammer, so doesn't really make a lot of sense to. Long game was quite better. I just don't think Shredder's that good, and I think it felt better than Ledger Shredder. Filtering out draws was really good though. I got to end a turn, make a shadow my turn a couple times too. Didn't see any hammer though. A lot of Rhinos, 4-color stuff. The tournament Fable was good there. Yeah, like I think that Fable is always going to be good if you're expecting or actually see just a bunch of mid-range matchups. But I just don't think that's like what modern is run by. Like, yeah, you have creativity and you have like rhinos and stuff, but then you've got Murktide, which I guess is like okay against Murktide, but I don't think it's better than Ledger Shredder. It's bad against Hammer Time, bad against Burn, Titan, Yawgmoth. And these were like, I think the real reason I'm not a fan of cards like Are they just like getting a hammer? The real reason I'm not a fan of cards like uh, Fable of the Mirror Breaker is I think that a lot of times we're trying to play cards like that to improve matchups by 5%, and we end up just like destroying other matchups in this attempt to make those couple matchups like a little bit better. Oh, if they're going for the kill here, so they can go for the kill here if they attack with both and activate Ink Moth. If they think I don't have anything. All right, so we want to kill the Ink Moth so they gain one less life. And that is a lethal attack back. Shadow quick maths. See, it's good versus a couple of Murktide decks I played. Probably not as good as Shredder there, though. Yeah, meta call, I guess. Like, I think if that's the expected meta you're wanting or thinking you're going to play against, then it's fine. I just don't think it's a card I want in like an open meta. And for me, that's where I'm usually preparing for is like I'm expecting to go into a challenge and see the top like 4 or 5 decks. And I don't think it's good enough against those. But like I never want to play a Fable on turn 3 against Crashing Footfalls. Like I don't want my opponent resolving Rhinos because if they resolve Rhinos, I lose the game. So a card that makes me tap out 3 mana is not where I want to be. And people make the argument of like, oh, just wait till turn 4 and hold up the Fluster Storm or the Spell Pierce or whatever. But that means I have to hit 4 mana on turn 4, which I never want to do either. So it's like not really playing into any of the ways that I'm approaching that kind of matchup. But that's really, really nitpicking. Like I've said it 1,000 times on stream, I'll say it again. If you enjoy playing a card or you think the card is good, play the card. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to somebody that doesn't have like a vested financial interest in your win rate. Like, go play the card if you think the card's good. People will say a lot of stuff like, hey, you should play this, you shouldn't play that. I think this is right and that's wrong. But at the end of the day, like, they're not paying for your tournament entry fees. They're not going home empty handed if you lose. Like, you are. Feel good about your decisions with your deck. Mm, I can get Sacred Foundry off this, which gets me something. I'm on the draw, so maybe I can find a land. I'm also trying to think of like, what did I ultimately think of my opponent's like decision there last turn to go for it? Because I was kind of thinking, like, would I go for it in that situation? Do I think it was worth it? And honestly, I don't really know. Because, like, I want to say, oh, if you don't make the attack, okay, the hammer. If they don't make the attack, then I don't think they're like losing, just holding back the big construct with the what's it called strapped onto it. Oh, nice, nice, perfect draw. Uh, perfect, like close-ish to perfect. March of their own. So let's take March. Take March. We'll march their saga. Out of here. Like, I think if they just held back the construct with the Shadow Sphere, they probably win. Maybe. All right. All of their unknowns are on the table, and we find another land to cast Kavu. Almost. Moth Nexus. Land for Kavu. The land for Kavu. Oh boy. Land for Kavu. Land that gets breeding pool. Land that gets breeding pool. Okay. We're on the board. Breeding pool. We want to get breeding pool because it gives us all 5 of our colors. Lets us cast our Kavu. We can hold up Leyline Binding. It, as the kids would say, metaphorically does it all. And this is kind of my biggest concern I've had about like this shadow style zoo deck is just not being able to get all of your colors online until turn 3 a lot of the time. Leyline Binding the Sigardazade. Get that out of here. We'll just exile something. That, why not? I just want to hold up double removal. If I draw something that's like not removal, then I'll throw that away. Stoneforge Mystic. Go get a Sophie. Let's go Dramoka's Command. 1/1 counter, fight. Counter here. Fight you. Go to our turn. EE. So we can EE on 1. They got a Sword of Fire and Ice off of the Stoneforge, so I don't really care about EE. think I'm just going to ditch it and draw. Kind of hoping that just having leyline binding for something that stands in my way and then bolt them will be enough. But I do have to remember that I cannot leyline binding the Ink Moth Nexus, but I can leyline binding whatever is equipped to the Ink Moth Nexus. So and now we just have attack and lightning bolt. Oh yeah. 4-1 with our abomination. Only loss was to blue-white control. Is that right? Which I lost was to blue-white control in a game in which we got triple solituded. We lost a what's it called? A Kavu to a dress down. Like pretty big pretty big kickback on our opponent's side. What do we beat? We beat Hammer Time. We beat Yawgmoth. No, not Yawgmoth. We beat Melira combo. Gotta make sure we get that right. We beat Tron. And I don't remember what the last match was. So let's go over the list. What worked, what didn't work, what probably needs to be updated, what's perfect the way it is. Deck's perfect. Everything's 10 out of 10. Don't change a card. If you change a card, you're wrong and don't deserve to play Magic. But seriously, mana base, atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Like, I still barely feel like I know what shocks I want. I know I can kind of divide it up. Like, let's move a little bit of this stuff around. Make it easier to see. Let's go threats here. Non-creature spells here. Okay. So we'll go like lands I didn't like, lands I did like. Blood Crypt, not my favorite. I found myself like wanting to fetch out Sacred Foundry more often than Blood Crypt. So I could just pair it with like Overgrown Tomb or Breeding Pool or something. Breeding Pool was great. Overgrown Tomb was meh. Planes, I don't remember like ever coming. I don't remember the basics ever really coming up that league. Foundry was great. Steam Vents was great. Savai Triumph was great. Fetches. There was a time or two that I had Catacombs and Windswept Heath, and I couldn't get Steam Vents, and I wanted Steam Vents. So I could easily see one of these becoming like, maybe Scalding Tarn. To be able to get Breeding Pool, Sacred Foundry, Steam Vents, Blood Crypt, Savai Triome. But then it doesn't get your basics, so Misty maybe. That doesn't get sick. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at that. I've seen lists playing like Flooded Strand before, which Flooded Strand gets Breeding Pool, Plains, Foundry, Survive, Steam Vents. Maybe that's an idea. Running Temple Garden, it can get that. But I think it's too many fetches that can't get Steam Vents. So that's a big thing to adjust. And then Verdant Catacombs can't get Sacred Foundry. Foothills is like your best fetch. Foothills at the moment gets all of our shocks as well as the basic forest. So need a model after that somehow. Spells. Dramoka's command was okay. It's always just been like counter on something fight. I have not made a player sacrifice an enchantment yet, and I've not prevented all damage from an instant or sorcery. Every single time I've cast this card, it's been counter on something fight. The counter doesn't really matter. The fight's good. So I could very easily see this being like another March or Prismatic Ending or just some sort of removal spell. If you're wanting to play Tribal Flames, then that could be like 2 of your 4 Tribal Flames. Thoughtseize has been good. Bolt's been good. Stub's been good. Kavu's been a lot better than I thought it would be. Goyf has been okay. It's like a 3/4, 4/3 most of the time. In a world where Kavu is often a 4/4 or 5/5, and the Shogun Brawler is a 4/3 or 5/3. So I think it's like the weakest of the creatures that we have, but it's not terrible. Shadow, outside of getting triple solituded, Shadow's fine. If you find yourself like fetching up Savai to get all of your colors more often, it's less good. But if you find yourself like wanting to go turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, 3 lands, then it's really, really good. Ragavan's excellent. Leyline Binding's good. March was really good that league. We exiled Urza's Saga. We exiled Cauldra token, the Germ token. What else do we hit? I can't remember if we marched or leyline binding a map out of Tron. But either way, I know March was good, and I don't think there was a time that March didn't hit something that Prismatic Ending would have. Oh, we marched Chalice of the Void against Blue White. Don't think we cast Teferi at all that league. So these are like the cards I'm looking at as my current flex spots. So maybe if you were wanting to find room for your 4 Tribal Flames, you could swap out 4 of these. If you wanted to find like Prismatic Ending room, then you got something you can kind of mess around with in there. Sideboard, Flusterstorm was good. Alpine Moon was good. We saw it against Tron. Veil of Summer's kind of whatever. Like the decks it should be good against are like Murktide and Blue White Control. But then if they just have a heavy red or white removal hand, then Veil's kind of dead. Night of Autumn we never saw. Geist we never saw. Lavinia never saw. Wear and Tear, we drew it at the end there against Hammer Time, but we were already winning. EE was whatever. Hearse is whatever. These are like pretty known quantities. So if you're wanting to swap them out for more marches or prismatic endings or something similar, go crazy. Unlicensed Hearse just because I don't want to play Rest in Peace if I'm running like Tarmogoyf. But honestly, if you're not running Tarmogoyf, these are probably like better as Rest in Peace. But you need to be able to get white on turn 2 reliably. And the only way to get white on turn 2 reliably with this deck is to get Savai Triumph on 1, which means you're doing nothing on 1, turn 2 Rest in Peace. So if proactivity is your game, I would add like another white producing shockland like a Temple Garden or heaven forbid a Godless Shrine. Just something in there to be able to fetch out aggressively for white. Yeah. If anybody's got any questions, now's a reasonable time for them. But otherwise, that'll wrap up that YouTube video.